Plenty of time for John. Now squeezes, steps up in the pocket. Oh, he can run. He's got the 10. Head first. He fires it. 5-yard line. Manning out of the gun. Manning lets it fly. It's caught by Thomas. There's the record for Peyton Manning.
Rushing forward, ball comes out of the hands of Newton. It's on the ground and still on the ground. Picked up by T.J. Ward at the 4-yard line.
Here we go. First snap of the overtime. The Broncos have been in 3 overtime games this year. They won them all. Got him at the 40. It's Thomas at the 50. Stiff arm got him 3 to the 30. To the 20. Thomas to the 10. Denver's going on to New England. They win it on the first.
Wow, that's a boom. I don't know who that is. Hold on, give me a second.
Yeah.
Wow, that was awesome. Okay, so
welcome to our EDM party.
Well, there was that like the nasty echo too during the show. It's like, glad your mic's not muted. Whatever. So let's try this again. Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Nuggets Creevy, joined today by my co-host Glenn Hauser, Mr. Boggins, and when she comes back, I'll introduce her the proper way. We are a fan-led Broncos-based podcast, bringing you all sorts of Broncos-related craziness. You are currently listening to the MHRT Podcast, which airs every Tuesday at 7654 on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. And also make sure you tune in to our other podcast, starting with Broncos Breakdown, with Bronco Bill every Wednesday at 7654, and the Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue podcast that airs every Thursday at 7654. And the very first episode of our new video series called Rough Draft with Isaiah will air this Friday, where he's going to take a look into potential draft picks and free agents that the Broncos might be interested in this offseason. So make sure you tune into that. She was in and then she left again. So I don't know what's going on. How's everybody doing this fine evening?
Doing great.
Just living the life, man. Living the life. Here, just here, having a drink with Nick Offerman. Can't really see because it's like,
hey,
there he is. There's Nick.
So let's try doing this the right way. And now, joining us for the first time as a host on the MHRT Network, continuing on with her Broncos country takeover, it's Bree. She's in here. Yay.
I made it back. Sorry about that, guys. That was perfect timing. Right as we go live, everything went down. So I'm going to plug in my alternative and we'll get started here. I think that's appropriate. You know, a little bit of technical issues for our first go.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought it was an evacuation alarm, but you know, it's fine.
Evacuation alarm. Oh, that's messed up. So obviously the big news from this weekend, the Rams won the Super Bowl. Woohoo!
What?
Mr. Von Miller got ring number 2.
Yeah, he did.
The part that sucks is that he didn't get it with the Broncos, but he did get a second ring.
He'll be back. He'll be back. He'll win a third one.
So, Boggs, I've been giving you shit for how long now, being like, it's not happening. Everyone's just just really, and now I'm sort of kind of on the train of it's possible.
You mean Von coming back or winning another ring?
Well, the one's already happened, so I can't claim that as a prediction. But as far as testing free agency and coming back, that's not really a far off proposal, now is it?
Yeah, I agree. I think that the cap space for the Rams, I mean, they might be that might be not something that they're willing to do to bring Von back, especially if Sean McVay's supposedly maybe retiring now, which is out of nowhere. Aaron Donald may be retiring. Why would you want to go back there?
I was going to say they had that breaking news that McVay and Donald might feel like they're going to retire after the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and it was weird because, you know, a lot of that stuff is just like wishy-washy, whatever. And then they asked him about it, and he said, I don't know yet, which is like, that's weird that you would even like just leave that linger. Like if it was not true, you'd be like, of course not. Like, you know what I mean? But I think it's possible that Von Miller comes back. I mean, especially if we get Aaron Rodgers. If we get Aaron Rodgers, he's going to be like, he's going to be licking his lips. He's like, I got a chance to go back to Denver, make not as much money as he would be able to make on the open market, but you get to come back to Denver, maybe win a Super Bowl.
Here's what I think is interesting about all of that is it was really exciting to see Von Miller really come back into his own. I think a lot of people thought Von Miller had lost a step and or was feeling the effects of age. I think he was feeling the effects of the Fangio scheme, and just did better for the Rams. The Rams were able to go with an all-in mentality, an all-in push, and basically make a statement that Von Miller's not washed up. He's still on point. He's not feeling the effects of age and getting long in the tooth. He actually just needed to be utilized for his skill set in not dropping into coverage on every single snap. So it's interesting to me to see how well he did, but I'm not shocked. I'm not surprised. And I think even people up until the Super Bowl were saying he didn't have the output in order to say he was being successful as an edge rusher still. And so here's the sacks that everyone was complaining that were missing. And he kept up with Aaron Donald. I think had he had a half more or one more, he would have been MVP. I just think he played that well.
Yeah, he had 9 sacks with his Rams career, a little slow start, but he was still coming off of injury. I mean, he had been on the shelf for a little bit with the Broncos before he went to the Rams. And one of the cool records that he got is he now is tied for the most sacks in Super Bowl history.
In less games.
In 3 less games than Charles Haley. He's 4.5 sacks. So that's kind of exciting. The one thing that concerns me about Von really being sincere about coming back was in the recent Sports Illustrated story that they had about him. They referenced that he had put his house on the market almost immediately when he got traded to the Rams. And it just seemed, that seemed curious to me that if he were intending to return or had any chance of returning, it wasn't like he needed to grab some extra dough to get a place in LA, so, we'll see what happens. But to your point, if all of a sudden we have a quarterback that looks like a total stud, he may be banging on the door again.
George asks if Donald retires, does that open cap space for the Rams to be able to pay Miller more money?
Yeah, but it's would they want to invest in an older pass rusher at that point? Like, because if Aaron Donald leaves and Sean McVay leaves, you're really looking at that roster and what you want to do, and if you're going to start moving some stuff around, and Von Miller is very. What?
I was going to say, not only that, you got O'Connell leaving, you got Evero leaving, you've got so many coaches leaving. So if McVay leaves on top of that, you're basically looking for a whole new coaching staff.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what's the state of the Rams right now? Are they going to go into what we would anticipate a full rebuild?
I don't know.
I'm guessing they're going to try to pay everybody and bring them back and take a second run at it.
I would have to look at who they have for free agents. I mean, they still have Stafford. They still have Jalen Ramsey. They still have studs.
Yeah, OBJ wants to come back. Floyd's still there.
Cup's still there.
Whitworth might retire though, so I have to look for a left tackle.
Like, why would you not retire now? You're like,
in
your mid 40s almost now, and you just got Walter Payton Man of the Year and won the Super Bowl. Like,
Cam Akers is still under contract. Cup is still under contract.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing they might try to re-sign him though, Cup, for a big contract.
Yeah. I don't
like he doesn't deserve it.
Yeah, I don't see Sean McVay going anywhere. I don't even know why he would, unless it's just like
for double the salary and half the stress. I wouldn't blame him for walking away after winning a Super Bowl,
because he could come back at any point. I mean, this is one of those things that it's completely the Tony Romo effect. And I know Tony wasn't a coach, but he goes into broadcasting, all of a sudden lands a $17 million a year deal. Broadcasts 20 something games, and when a coach is just won the Super Bowl and has the ability to, I mean, like Bree said, he's making 8.5 right now. 17 is exactly twice of that. So what if he gets offered that? What if Jeff Bezos says, you'd be great on our Thursday night telecast. Here's $25 million. Oh, by the way, we're going to offer the same thing to Tom Brady. I mean, it is a distinct possibility. I'd be very surprised though if Aaron Donald retired just after winning a Super Bowl. You know, you haven't heard, but again, you know, he's got more money than he could spend in a lifetime. Presumably, he's won Defensive Player of the Year 3 times. I mean, his accomplishments. I mean, the guy's a bona fide Hall of Famer, first ballot, and that was years ago, even before any of this. So I can't see it, but I could understand it, I suppose.
Well, and this is my question to you. So we definitely saw an emotional and accountability shift when Miller left. So nothing against Von Miller. I love the guy, but do we want Von Miller back after we've made that shift? I mean, would it change with the coaching staff too?
Well, yeah, and I think that's exactly what had happened halfway through the year, is that the entire defense had to make a shift on their own because they were unhappy with what was happening under Fangio. And I think that maybe that catalyst was Von Miller leaving, but I don't know if it was a detriment for having him on the team. We've talked about this previously, where other players had to actually step up in his absence and kind of bring an entirely different game and approach. But I don't think that could be faulted and or hindered with bringing Von Miller back when that's a position of need for the Broncos right now, especially in the offseason. And I saw the comment about whether or not they'd be able to pay him what he's worth. If the Denver Broncos don't get Aaron Rodgers, there's obviously a ton of cash ready to pay and play positions that are definitely needed in the offseason. I don't think it's far-fetched, actually.
Yeah, I already think there's been a shift, and I don't think if Von Miller came back, it would shift back. I think it's Justin Simmons' team right now, and I don't think I'm pretty sure Von Miller would take not a back seat. Like, he would still be like a leader amongst leaders, but it would be Justin Simmons' team if he came back. And I mean, any veteran presence, he would be pretty much be the DeMarcus Ware. And I think that him going to LA kind of let him take a back seat for the first time, going to Aaron Donald's team, and he kind of got to hang back and like just got to clean up, not in like a bad way clean up, but like it's nice when you have all that around you, you know what I mean? And now he'd be able to come back, and it's Justin's team now, and he can kind of chill and just rack up those sacks to get at least Elliott, or what I think Albright was saying, like 10 more, and he'll be like top 15 or so. So yeah, I would definitely come back.
And speaking of DeMarcus Ware, like, obviously the travesty of him not being a first ballot Hall of Famer is just ridiculous.
I don't want to talk about
that. But with
so
him not being a first ballot Hall of Famer, are we certain that Von Miller is a first ballot Hall of Famer? I know he's a Hall of Famer, but is he first ballot?
After what happened to DeMarcus? I'm not sure anymore.
Well, he also has 2 Super Bowls too, where DeMarcus only has the one, and I don't know. Yeah. I don't know for a pass rusher what kind of weight that holds. But what do you think of Von's presence with? And I know we're going to talk about the coaching staff, but with such a young coaching staff, with a lot of them not having experience in the NFL, do you think having a Von Miller as a stalwart on the defense would help, or do you think it would hinder the what they're trying to do here, what Hackett and his team are looking to do?
I mean, until the DC is shorn up, I think we have some questions, some outliers as to what that's going to look like. I don't see how it would affect what you're trying to do there, unless you're trying to go young across the board and kind of not even a rebuild, just kind of a mini experiment to see which part of your rosters are going to excel. I don't think it could be a detriment. I do think you see him coming in at, like you said, like a Donald who didn't win a Super Bowl MVP previously, right? So I think they're marginally different players with the same kind of skill set, and you would see him kind of being like a DeMarcus Ware, where he's coming back and in a different entity almost. It's not the Von Miller of past, it would be the new representation. So I don't think it would. It's like I'm trying to run through what could go wrong, because I love to risk assess, but I could only see it being a favor to the current Denver Broncos roster, with the added touch that they've had to live without. Like it's almost like when you lose something or you lose somebody and you're like, man, I wish I would have enjoyed that time more. I think the Denver Broncos would enjoy that, to get that back, that feeling back.
Yeah, I don't see it being an issue with all the new coaches being young. I mean, he's been through how many coach changes over the last 10 years or whatnot. I really don't think that he's gonna even blink an eye if that's that's what I think, at least.
Okay.
Let's see what else we got here. Do we want to keep talking Broncos? We want to go NFL, or who cares about the NFL?
Who cares about the NFL?
Well, it's so kind of going off of Brian Flores. So owner Stephen Ross could potentially lose the Dolphins by a vote of the owners, depending on the NFL probe. So we could have another team going up for sale here. Obviously, Washington needs to be sold too, but I digress.
It would be very interesting to see how much the Miami Dolphins are worth. It would.
You almost said that condescendingly, like what the Miami Dolphins are worth.
Yeah, well, because it's like they've been trash for a long time, but they are in Miami, which is is it? I mean, I think it's a big market, not necessarily a football market.
I think any NFL team is going to be a hot commodity. You're setting kind of the standard. The reason the Denver Broncos are as expensive as they are isn't necessarily just because of it being the Denver Broncos and a long-standing franchise. It's because there's only 32 NFL teams, so they're going to be high priced. I think you'd be fairly shocked what the Miami Dolphins would go for. It's probably not going to be as much, but it's comparable. It also depends on what they're looking for. So the Broncos obviously getting sold at auction because of the trust, and they're looking for the highest amount of money, biggest bang for their buck. That's not necessarily the same thing for other teams. So it might be comparable in the realm of what the starting price is, which I think is what, 3.6 billion.
3.6.
All I'm going to say is I'm really excited for when Pitbull owns the Miami Dolphins.
Oh, that'd be funny.
Everybody, the mascot's just a
Mr. Worldwide. Yeah.
So Dan, they'll bring the dolphin back from Ace Ventura. Dan Patrick was saying on his show today that Stephen Ross is already preparing I was joking around about the 100,000. He's already floating that defense out there. So.
Yeah.
How about that halftime show?
Yeah.
It wasn't long enough. I thought it was amazing. When we actually looked at how long it was 12 to 13 minutes, which I guess is average. Like, it's not like they were short. I think just with that much talent on stage, it felt like it could have been a lifetime.
Well, I love the hat tip, or what's that called? To
tip
Tupac,
of the hat?
Honoring Tupac.
I could have done without a $1.50. But and why he
still had
down.
to get up into the rafters. So,
dude, that's what I'm saying. It's like he's already big enough, and then the poor interns that have to put him up into that mechanism.
Did you see the video though? He didn't. Like, he put himself there.
Okay, well then that's a little better, I guess.
Yeah,
the visual that I had to suffer through was still not pleasing to my eyes.
I could have done with a little bit more Eminem and a little bit more Mary J. Blige. I could have done with a little bit more.
The show was amazing.
She couldn't stand up. She was doing her Mary J. so hard that I was like, oh, she's gonna fall over. And at the end, she legit fell over. I could have taken a lot more Kendrick, but I get that some old heads don't really know Kendrick. It's fine though.
Yeah, it was kind of. I was gonna say it takes a lot of thigh strength to like get that low and stay that low for a long time. So she's a badass. Like, what I don't want to misquote her age, but I know that she's not 30 anymore. So that was really impressive. And then 50 Cent hanging upside down was a joy to watch, making that throwback to the music video, which I thought was great. I think the best part was everybody. I was obviously over at DNVR. Everyone over there was just excited the entire time. And every time a new song would kind of well up, everyone just started and the bar was full of like a huge spectrum of fans there just enjoying the game. And then the halftime show, we were all dancing and having a great time. So I think it was the right choice. There's obviously going to be people who would prefer however
Coldplay?
many surviving members, of like Rolling Stone there are, but Yeah, or Coldplay.
Yeah, Mary J is 51, by the way.
That's
I think most of them are 50 except for M and 50. I think they're in their late 40s.
50 isn't 50.
No, not yet.
I will have to disagree with George on that was the best halftime show ever. I think it would come in
top 5.
Top 5. Second or third probably behind Prince is number 1.
Ooh, it's the NSYNC and
Bruno
Britney
Mars
Spears
and
is
MJ.
actually.
Yeah, that was my number.
Which one, Brie?
Britney Spears and NSYNC and all those.
Yeah.
I couldn't even tell you what year, but I know I was a fan.
Queen Bee killed it.
I actually saw the Bruno Mars Red Hot Chili Peppers live, and the game was a disaster. But that halftime show was just ridiculous.
Sure.
Nobody
needs to do it again.
Nobody left their seat for that.
It wasn't cables, EJ. EJ's comment said, "How strong were the cables?" He actually had to do a pull up and kick his legs over the bar that was right there. So he was basically doing like what you would almost use for a chin up, like a bar like that. The dude's ripped. So everyone's saying like, oh, 50 cents a whole dollar now. That dude is straight muscle. And he just obviously isn't in a cut right now, but go off.
When Dre started playing the piano too, man, I got chills. That was great.
Once somebody had replaced
is 50 Cent now the fat kid that loves cake? No one got that joke. All right.
I mean, I got the joke. I just didn't think it was very funny.
It was great. What are you talking about?
No, somebody took the video of the Super Bowl halftime show, and when Dre started playing the piano, replaced it with the Michelle Branch song.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty funny.
I like. So Evero's coming in. Let's get that done.
I was gonna say I was gonna get into
comedy career just ended.
It looks like we have most of the coaching staff set. I think there's a couple. So we got obviously Nathaniel Hackett, and then the special assistant to head coach and instructional designer John Vieira. Did I say that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then consultant Bill Kolar. He's staying as a consultant.
Yeah, I like you.
Offense, we've got Justin Outen as the offensive coordinator. Clint Kubiak's the QB passing game coordinator. Butch Berry is the offensive line coach. Azani stays with wide receivers. Tyrone Wheatley is the running back coach. Jake Moreland is tight end. Brought in Ben Steele for assistant offensive line. Justin Riscotti is still there as quality control. And then Raymond Chinyoung is the other quality control guy. Ejiro Evero, he's not actually hired yet, right? But he's expected to be the DC of the Broncos.
Yeah, like tomorrow, or wait, what's today? Tuesday, Wednesday?
This Tuesday.
Yeah, so probably a Wednesday.
It's probably after the parade, I would imagine. He's going to want to be at that.
I know they had that little one at Disneyland.
I mean, some of these guys don't even have their picture like on the Broncos website.
Yeah.
We got to hunt these pictures down for these guys.
Mm-hmm.
Christian Parker stays as defensive backs coach. Peter Hansen is the linebackers coach. Marcus Dixon is defensive line coach. Bert Watts is the outside linebackers coach. Ola Adams is the assistant defensive backs, and Dom Capers is the senior defensive consultant.
You know, a lot of people are complaining about how young this staff is, but you got to give it to Peyton because I feel like he's very aware of that, and that's why he's putting all these like cover your butt coaches in there as well to like be around people.
Do you think that's Peyton or do you think that's Hackett? Because I think part of that's Hackett and his mindset with wanting to kind of change how coaching staff exists, and instead of just having coaches, and it's having young guys being coached up as well and growing with the team. So I don't know if it's credit to Peyton. Peyton has to okay it. So
I know that the coach to the coach, it was Hackett's idea, who was just essentially, he's like a hip coach, right? He's like show everybody the technologize and the the Facebook machines, and like show them how to incorporate that into teaching the children's about the TikToks. So I agree with that.
Well, and Boggs, you kind of brought it up. Like when you look at the coaching roster, it's like younger coaches and then someone that's overseeing that entire, Dom Capers is a senior advisor looking over the defense. Nathaniel Hackett obviously is the one overlooking the offense. So it seems like there's those accountability pieces in place, but the majority of the coaching staff is young guys.
And I think Hawkins actually called them accountability coaches. And I think it's a perfect term. I'm excited. It's nice to have some, a lot of new blood into the building. We've not made the playoffs for 6 years. Let's stop complaining and give this an opportunity. As long as Dom Capers is not advising anyone on a proper comb over. But aside from that, I think we're going to be good. And once Evero gets in there and free agency starts, I mean, there's a lot to be excited about.
I think what's the most impressive piece of that is when you bring in someone like Capers, who obviously is a very long-standing defensive mind, and you have concerns about what old school does to new offenses. I think this is the great umbrella to kind of cover all of those things. And I do like how Boggins said they're basically for accountability. And I think teaching them children's about the TikToks. I don't know if anyone will be teaching anyone about the TikToks, but actually that could be a fun new summer thing that they roll out, like during training camp last season. So the KOA Colorado account, the TikTok account, does a great job of all that background stuff. So if you haven't checked that out, I would suggest that.
Well, it was shared on a bunch of different places, but the Denver Broncos are looking for a social media kind of person to help with ideas and post stuff on all social media accounts. So if you want to work for the Broncos, go check that out.
Yeah.
What I was going to say, not to lessen it any, but special teams, we got Dwayne Stukes, who's our coordinator, and then Mike Mallory is the assistant special teams. And I bring that up because all year it was special team sucks. We need a new coach. Well, now we got new coaches for special teams.
The real variability there will be to see how the Raiders fare. I'm really interested to see because it'll test the theories, right? And until you get the actual experiment done, we won't know if it was a good thing or a bad thing. And all signs are pointing to it was the correct choice to make. How the special teams for the Las Vegas Raiders fare. I almost brought back the old one.
The Washington.
Yeah, can't throw it back that far, but it will be, right? I think that it's really easy to blame misgivings and find a scapegoat and yell. But we know special teams was not with it this year. This season was abysmal, and any upgrade will be a good upgrade. But if it continues, then we're cursed, I think, at that point.
Well, I think I had talked to Bronco Bill about it on the phone, and I was like, Josh McDaniels comes in and is looking at special teams tape. I want to know what tape he was looking at where he was like, I absolutely want Tom McMahon as my special teams coordinator. I want to see that tape.
I flinch when anybody ventures, especially in the last, couple of months, of making fun of McDaniels and what had happened in Denver. Do I think you have the right to hate what he did to the franchise and to the team and the decisions that he made? But to say that he's not talented at what he does is kind of a trap. So I think that he probably saw something that fits with his idea of how he wants to run things, and whether or not that's successful is a different story. But McDaniels is not a dumb coach, nor is he going to make a decision to go to a team, be a head coach, and work to fail, I guess, if that's putting it appropriately. All biases and hate aside, I don't hate Josh McDaniels for who he is as an NFL coach. But damn him for what he did to us in the past.
Well, he did get us Von Miller, didn't he? His poor performance allowed us the second pick in the draft, I think.
See, everything happens for a reason.
And he did draft Demarius. We'll give him that.
All I see is little rascals, and how they have their women hating club or whatever, and there's like a password to get in. I just see Josh McDaniels asking for a password, and Tom McMahon just like, screw the Broncos, and he's like, yeah, you're on the team. You're on the team. I feel like that's all they had to go with there.
Yeah. Prophet says still waiting to hear about the Raiders signing Tim Tebow and Marquette King.
I think Tim Tebow probably has some personal reasons for not, but I mean, maybe
just a little bit. I like how there was like a report that Derek Carr was staying too, like
that he was staying or that he was leaving.
That he's staying. And
I think they said he was looking for 35 a year.
I don't remember what he said he was looking for, but you want to keep Derek Carr. I don't understand why that was ever.
Let's stop hating on Derek Carr too. You know, I mean, the guy is easily a top 10 quarterback. We would take him in a heartbeat, and $35 million for a quarterback at this of his level at this point is something we should all get used to.
I want to say it was 35 for 4 or 5, something like that. But yeah, we hate Derek Carr because he's a Raider, not because he's a bad quarterback.
Yeah,
but
he's not a bad quarterback.
But he's not elite either. His consistency has been up and down. It's a roller coaster. Yeah. And even though he had as many yards as he did, which is pretty impressive given his attempts, I don't know if I trust him more than 15 of the other quarterbacks out there. But that's saying something, considering we've been saying all season long that the Denver Broncos are a quarterback away from a Super Bowl. And I don't think that's necessarily true. I think that trope tends to point out that there's missing pieces like coaching and an edge and right tackle and a stronger line. And then you throw somebody like Derek Carr in there. He's not going to fix it. And 10 other quarterbacks are not going to fix it. So this is interesting when you talk about, like, is Carr the greatest to ever do it? Is he top 10? No, he's probably right around the same point that you're looking at Kirk Cousins, but even less consistent.
Is he the greatest Raider quarterback of all time, though?
Well, they had Ken State.
Yeah.
Come on. They had Marcus.
Modern, maybe?
The last 5 years.
Yeah. They had Marcus Tuiasosopo. Marcus Russell. Come
on. So on Broncos Country Tonight last night, they were suggesting that if the Broncos don't get Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson, that Carson Wentz is a real possibility, and I wanted to get your thoughts on.
Well, as well as bringing Bridgewater back too. The both options.
Let's go with let's go with the opinion of Carson, because I'm not a fan, but wanted to hear what you thought.
Bree, go for it. I don't want to.
You're gonna have to rephrase that for my brain real quick.
Yeah. Carson Wentz to the Broncos.
Carson Wentz.
The initial laugh.
Here's the thing. Okay, so take all of the quarterbacks that are currently available that don't make you have a warm feeling in the back of your throat, right? They're all different variations of each other. And so it depends on what you think is the like what makes a good quarterback to you, right? Is it efficiency? Is it their tendency to be safe with the ball? Is it their excitement? Is it their candor? Like what makes you think a quarterback is better than the other? Because right now that grouping of quarterbacks is all very close if you like remove and replace separate stats. So Carson Wentz, does he excite me more than Kirk Cousins or Matt Ryan or, no, they're all the same tier to me. They're all the same quarterback to me in just different flavors. So when you say the name Carson Wentz, I don't pull anything or derive any joy in being like, okay, yeah, that could work. Because it's just going to be, to me, inevitably what we've seen last season and what we would see next season with bringing in another veteran hedge. But you're going to, when people are like, I feel really strongly about Gardner Minshew because he adds a flavor of spice that you have been lacking. Or when you say, wow, if we had Matt Stafford, we would be in a Super Bowl. You know, what you would have is a wildly inconsistent quarterback that has really great games and has gotten pretty far this season with the team that he's been on. Do I think Stafford would have been the same on the Denver Broncos? Not necessarily. Do I think that he's paid his dues and he deserves it all? Yes, those are two different statements. So Carson Wentz, that's a long way of saying I don't like it, I don't love it, but I don't love any of the choices that are currently out there. And I don't know if any of y'all do either. I think you've convinced yourself, and this is just me talking abruptly, is like, have you just convinced yourself that fixes your problems, and are you ignoring everything else out there that exists?
I'm picturing what the flavors would be of Wentz, Ryan and Cousins. What is it? Like vanilla, French vanilla, and vanilla bean?
Pistachio.
Well, I know that we've talked a lot about Cousins, and from what I saw, it sounds like Minnesota is keeping Cousins. They don't want to get rid of him. They want to keep him with O'Connell. So I think
Garoppolo.
No.
Just stop.
And honestly,
stop the
pain. Kyle Shanahan was the reason that Jimmy G was able to do any of what he was able to do.
So is Sean McVay
without
the only
Kyle
reason?
Shanahan? No, because Stafford was still good with the Lions. He just didn't have any of the supporting cast.
Okay, but how do you know he was still good with the Lions?
Well, and he wouldn't have been good. He wouldn't have been. Yeah, he wouldn't have been as good with the Broncos just because of Shermer and how things were schemed and what we were going through in flux with the offense. And I don't think it would have been the same. But you take a quarterback like Stafford and put him on a team like the Rams, and you see what can happen.
But I think that's the same with any other quarterback that you're pulling in. You could make the case for any other quarterback out there that you could throw them into a system that works to the high efficiency and a different coaching staff that's going to use them to your skill points. And you could get better out of Wentz. You could get better out of Carr, but they're all the same variation. I'm not interested or excited by any of their names. And maybe I've just become apathetic in my 365 days of covering the Denver Broncos. I don't know.
Welcome.
Well, and this is one of the things that I heard when I was watching the Pat McAfee show. AJ Hawk was saying that he believes that Green Bay is the best chance that Rodgers has to win a Super Bowl. And I don't agree.
I don't agree.
In my opinion, Denver without Rodgers is better than Green Bay without Rodgers. So it doesn't make any sense to me how Green Bay is Rodgers' best shot at the Super Bowl when they've done it once in 17 years. It doesn't make any sense.
Aaron Rodgers was a part of those teams for the last 7. Like you're telling me that his entire scope of his teams and the teams around him have not been Super Bowl worthy and in contention, but somehow the Denver Broncos are that unicorn that would bring him to the promised land.
I think that the Broncos have a better roster overall than the Packers. And I mean, that's
a fair statement.
I mean, you look at the offensive weapons that the Broncos can offer. I don't know why Denver wouldn't be able to reach higher with Rodgers than the Packers would with Rodgers.
Yes. Agree to
well said,
all.
My friend.
Agree to all.
But they're better right now, but are they better than any other amassing of talent in rosters of the years previous is what my original question was.
Or who? The Broncos?
Like of any of the previous Packers?
With Aaron Rodgers at quarterback.
I believe
not including the Super Bowl run.
Well, so if they keep him, what ends up happening to the rest of the roster? Like what names are there for next year?
Now you got 3 free agents who are probably going to walk. So
I just you look at the past Packers teams and they're not a lot different than the one you saw this year. I mean, there's a lack of outside of Devontae Adams and Jones. There's nothing.
Lazard.
He's decent. Yeah. He's not bad. I mean, Tanya
who was also a free agent.
Tanya before he got hurt.
He's decent though. I mean, you look at the wide receivers that Denver offers. I mean, you're not looking at him and going decent. You're looking at him going, holy crap, we could have something here.
But do you say that about the Denver Bronco receivers because you're a Denver Broncos fan, or do you honestly believe that the 4 to 5 that we currently have that are trending healthy outplay those guys on a consistent basis?
I honestly believe that you got Patrick and you've got Sutton that are wow. Because what they have. Judy.
I thought you were going to throw Judy in there, and that's why I was concerned.
Well, he hasn't really proven himself yet, though. And I'm not saying that's his fault. I'm just saying with the quarterback play he's gotten over the last 2 years, I mean, you don't really know how good he could be.
Sure, you don't know.
Same thing with Fant. He's got all that talent, but with how things were schemed out this year and things played out his first year, it's just there's more promise on the Broncos than there is on the Packers. And that's the problem, is that with the Packers, you've got one receiver, one running back, and a tight end that is probably played better than he should have. Other than that, you don't really have a whole lot.
Here's what
you got Bakhtiari. But
here's what I'll say. Imagine the 2013 Broncos without Peyton Manning and who actually gets elevated. So now you think of who we actually have on the roster and who actually is playing well. Now add Aaron Rodgers to that. He's going to elevate the team, and he has more to elevate than he currently has in Green Bay. Like,
right.
The amount of times he throws to Devontae Adams is ridiculous. Like, don't get me wrong, Devontae Adams is insane, like top 2 receivers in the league. But now that he has more actual weapons around him to be able to distribute to, that would be able to escalate everyone around him because he has so many options. I mean, and you talk about Jerry Jeudy, but like, one, he didn't get much of a shot last year, coming off of injury and then never getting thrown to. I mean, if he still had a couple drops, sure. But when you have the when you are
got to make a move for the ball, even when he was getting the ball thrown to him. So I don't think that's necessarily fair either. But I have a question for you there. Is Aaron, because you would know, and I'm asking this from actual general curiosity, is Rodgers known as a quarterback that actually favors 1 or 2 receivers, or is he likely to spread the love? Because I think what you're going to see is a misuse of talent if he doesn't. And I don't know what he prefers. It seems like he likes 2 to 1 specific receiver and favors them highly.
Well, my counterpoint to that is, how many times has he had more than 1 or 2 receivers?
True.
That he spread the ball when he had like Jordy Nelson, Randall Cobb, and
Greg Jennings.
Greg. I mean, yeah, a little bit of Greg Jennings and James Jones. And
it's
James
not going to matter when Judy's part of the trade package anyways. So
yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, but you'll still have KJ, who hopefully will be healthy and will be still still a deep threat. And
he's an unknown factor though with those injuries too. I don't think you necessarily know what to expect from KJ. I really enjoy him as a player and as a person. I just don't think you know what he brings or if he would be kept around for that reason, because he's a big question mark.
Mm-hmm.
So who do you want starting for the Broncos in game 1 of next season?
As a quarterback?
Yeah.
This is entrapment, and I plead the fifth.
Say it.
Trevor Siemian.
No, God.
Who do you think she is? Lindsay?
No, I was just throwing it out there. She'd be like, Lindsay, listen.
Lindsay, I'm sorry. I really am. Please don't hold it against me.
I tried to throw you a bone.
I would pick Brock Lobster over Trevor Siemian, but I think you're going to want to see. I think you're going to want to see something else out there. Here's my thing: is in a perfect world, ideally, and I wish this season was last season, is you would have been able to run with Drew Lock and see what happens. This season doesn't seem necessarily fair to do so, but I think if you're going to be drafting, you're not going to necessarily take a quarterback at 9 and then start him next year. So you're really looking at a veteran hedge, and because it can't be Cousins anymore, I don't know what you're expecting. You're going to get Jimmy G, or you're going to start the very relatively low-priced quarterback that you have on the roster right now.
Bree, your lawyer is advising you, and he's
my lawyer.
My prophet, yeah.
Oh, he's like, don't quit talking. We have a very special guest.
Well, I was gonna mention, like, Bree does have a radio show to get to, so we're gonna go ahead, and whenever you need to dip out. Okay. We do appreciate you being with us. So for now, it's every other week, and we'll kind of work it around her schedule just to kind of figure out when. We'll let you know when she's on.
I'll do the best that I can, my dudes.
So you mentioned Jimmy G. We've talked about him a couple of times. So there's a rumor going out there that the whole Brady retirement, hemming and hawing, kind of not actually saying retiring, that he's really angling for a year in San Francisco. What do you think of that rumor and the possibility that Garoppolo gets traded to the Bucs for the rights to Tom Brady?
So I then will need to buy a 49ers jersey. I'm not happy about it, but willing to do what I need to do to support my man. It's interesting. It's a concept that, obviously it's been floating around. He's never uttered the actual words, but I think that allows him to safely say in 6 months that you guys have talked about it and it felt right at the time, but things change. And I think that's the same thing that you get with anything, really, is that if it feels right, then do it. Do I think he goes back to the Bucs? No, the Bucs are basically not imploding, but they're losing a lot of key people. So does Tom Brady go back to that? No. Would he maybe potentially go to the 49ers? Not bad. Not a fan of Jimmy G, though. So if it's just a direct trade across, that probably works for both parties. Or you send Tom Brady over here, he becomes a Bronco. Broncos country melts down. I cry myself to sleep just of tears of joy. And that's how it works out.
Bree's out one of the stands with her sign up saying "Marry me," and then her and Giselle get in a fight. That's what's gonna happen.
Oh, it's totally platonic. I don't feel for him for that way. Here's Joey Richards.
Oh, Joey's
Hey,
there
Joey!
too. It's a whole party.
It is, yeah. So we're filling up here in the studio, getting ready to start. What I think is, all jokes aside, if Tom Brady still had it in him, which I very much so think he does, sometimes you just, what else is there to prove? He tried for another one and it didn't happen, which was surprising. It was shocking. And maybe that just means that you just don't chase it. If your body doesn't break down, you can't put a time frame on when you're going to step away. At what point are you going to be like, I'm going to be 50 years old, and if I can still move, I'm going to do it? Because he still would have the arm. I digress.
Oh,
Glenn, you're muted or something. Your mic ain't working or something because you're talking and we ain't hearing nothing.
Oh, it's blinking.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Oh, here
There we got it.
All right. How long has that been going on for the last 45 minutes?
Yeah, about.
Yeah, the whole show you've actually been muted. So
We were just.
It's been the best show ever. So Bree, where can people hear you and Zach and Joey in the next few minutes?
where everyone can come find us at milehighsports.com. If you click on the listen live, you can actually go ahead and I'm just going to give myself bunny ears before he does. You actually listen live if you go to milehighsports.com, click on that tab, or if you're in Denver, Colorado, you can listen to us at 98.1 FM, 107.3, 107.5 HD3, and call in, text, bother me, troll me. That's what it's about tonight. We're going to have a good show.
Done.
All right. And I do actually have to go. It was so
thank
nice
you very
to
much.
see you
Great to
guys.
Bye.
Have fun. All right. So I did want to bring up another thing that was brought up on Broncos Country tonight. I think it was about like a week ago. But Ben had started talking about offensive line. We've been talking all off season season about right tackle with Bobby Massey, whether we're going to bring him back or not. But he's saying that it looks like there's going to be a three-way battle at center between Cush, between Miners, and between Glasgow. And then whichever one loses, Miners or Glasgow, is going to be at right guard. Is that what we want? Is a battle at center, and who do we want to win it?
I don't know if I want a battle necessarily. I would rather just commit to one. But I mean, I feel like we have this happens every, when you go into training camp and whatnot. And we still don't really know because it's so early to tell. We don't know if we're going to draft someone. We don't know if we're going to sign someone in free agency, if they're actually going to let, I don't even remember what, not Ragnow. Glasgow's contract is, if we can just let him cut him at this point.
Well, I think he's down to
they just redid it, didn't they?
Did they just restructure?
Yeah, they just re-signed him, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. I think it's under $4 million actually.
So I mean, would you rather draft a center, or would you rather go with one of the ones that we have on? I mean,
I'm cool. I'm cool with Miners.
Glasgow's best year was at center with the Lions, right?
I don't know about that, but he was good at guard. But I don't know. I just don't want to pay him. But it looks like we already did. Yeah, I missed that apparently.
3.1 Boggins.
Oh, that's fine.
For how many years?
That's fine. That's per year.
Just one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay. He was still under contract this year for one more year, so they restructured to drop it down. I mean,
he might we'll see what happens, but he might even get cut still in training camp. You never know. Anyways, I think Miners for center, because it's like he has the higher upside. Cush, I just he's got no power, man, and it's really tough. And you're gonna need mobility a lot in this outside zone scheme. And Cush is just, I just don't know why we drafted him. He's not fast or athletic. He's not strong. He was just the guy that hiked the ball to Joe Burrow. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. Well, and you can see if you watch tape last year, there's a lot of A gap pressure, which is like you can't have that. There's a lot of it. But for me, it's like I would love to see the pairing of Reisner, Glasgow, Miners, especially if you got pulling guards. I think I'd rather have Miners and Reisner than Reisner and Glasgow. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Right tackle. We going draft or we going free agent? Or are we sticking with Massey?
Both.
Well, he's not under contract, but I could see him coming back. What do you think, Mike?
I just don't see him in an outside zone scheme. I think that'd be messy. That's just you need to be athletic to do that, especially when you're on the outside. Like you need to, as soon as that ball hikes, you are gone. So like, I think we will look at a free agent potentially, and then also draft. So
do you think Cush gets traded or cut, or what do you think?
No, I think he'll still be on the roster, finish out his contract. I mean, he's good depth. I mean, he started 2 years, so I don't see why that wouldn't be good depth to have behind just in case. But I mean, I would prefer Miners. Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm looking at what is this fan sided? I don't even know if that's even a good source, but I'm going to try it.
No.
They've got Austin Blythe, center, as a free agent that the Broncos might pick up.
Austin Blythe. Yeah, there are. It could be anybody. The season just ended. Anybody could come available. We could. I mean,
they've got Marlon Mack as a running back. We might pick up.
Maybe as that pass catcher back, essentially. But I mean, I'm interested to see what Mike Boone does. Still don't know if we're going to re-sign Melvin Gordon. Zach Seegers and I were going back and forth at it about, like, I don't think it's as big of a. He thinks it's a very no-brainer that we go in the draft and pick up a third, fourth round RB, and I think for 4.5 per year, I'd take Melvin Gordon too. So like either way, I think I'm fine with it. What do I think Melvin Gordon will take 4.5? Probably not. I think he's going to try to get his last like prime contract.
Would he get it though?
Minnesota, maybe.
He'd get something.
They need help.
He'd get something. I mean, Miami probably. Houston doesn't have anything. So like, there are definitely teams that whatever.
Would you want to go to Houston though? That's the big question.
Maybe you should call Lindsay and say, hey,
maybe even.
What do you think?
Maybe even Carolina. I don't know what Carolina's going to do with McCaffrey, because it sounds like they want to get rid of McCaffrey, but I don't know who's going to pay that for a running back anymore.
Nobody is.
Yeah. So
I mean, I get the idea of McCaffrey, but he's hurt all the time. I don't know if he needs to be used different or play a slot instead of a running back. I don't know.
No, I don't know about that
all the time.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I just think he was overutilized, I guess. Kind of like an Alvin Kamara or like a Zeke was at first, and just like here's the ball, do everything.
Yeah.
So I mean that's asking for it at that point.
Well, especially when they lost Cam, that the year after they lost Cam, it was all McCaffrey. That was it. Yeah. So do you think that we will have a decision from Rodgers whether he's going to retire, stay, or leave within the next 2 weeks?
2 weeks. What they say? March 18th is when they have to sign the franchise?
Whenever the start of free agency, I think is. Yeah.
Yes, I think we'll have an answer.
That's about 2 weeks, right?
No, that's longer.
Because it sounds like it's one. I could be reading way too much into this, but when you listen to his MVP speech, that really sounded like one of two things: either he's going to retire or he's leaving the Packers.
Well, thanks for the memories. Doesn't say, "Hey, I'll see you in the summer."
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, but I also think he's
a retirement speech.
I honestly think he slightly enjoys some of this, where he loves people freaking out about his next move. I don't think he's a narcissist necessarily, but I do think he likes to see people squirm, and that he thinks it's hilarious that people think it's such a big deal. And so he's probably just playing his own game, and we'll see what he wants at the end of the day.
I know that that there has been reports that Green Bay is going to go all out for Aaron Rodgers.
Oh yeah.
How much confidence do the Packers have in Jordan Love if they're willing to back up the brink truck to Aaron? Because I mean,
Zero.
Rodgers had 4 years sitting behind Favre, and then they were like Favre was ready to come back, and he's like, the Packers were like, well, we've got Rodgers, so I mean, you can come back, but we're not. Where I mean, now it's like we will give you anything that you want if you.
Jordan Love is. They were hoping to God that it was going to happen the exact same way that it did before, because the Packers had such great luck before. They've had 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks in a row for like the last 30 years, and they've won 2 Super Bowls. You know what I mean?
That's unbelievable. I mean, that statistic, both parts of that. The fact that they've had 30 years of Hall of Fame starting quarterback.
I give a guy at work crap for that, and he's just like, just don't talk to me anymore.
Well, and it's like,
let me ask you
the Packers at this point almost have to do like what the Rams did, because like if you look at the Rams, you look at the Bengals. The Bengals were built from the draft, their own draft, like that's their team. Whereas the Rams, a lot of their key pieces came from other teams, either this season or last season. So it's almost like in order for the Packers to win another one, they're going to have to be like the Rams and go out and find, because they won one like 10 years ago. So another one. But
they're not going to be able to because they can't. They don't have the cap space.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like they would almost have to go out and bring people in, but at this point they can't.
Dude, I don't know though. Like this trend of like maybe Sean McVay leaving, and then Sean Payton leaving, when like both are kind of going into like, what am I going to do with my roster? How much money do I have? Situation. Yeah. What if Matt LaFleur did that too? Like he just he just signed everyone back with Aaron Rodgers at 45 per, and then he just pro dated everything, and just like 3 years, so like 2 years out. And so when it actually comes there, it's like, well, I won my Super Bowl. I'm gonna take a break from football for a while. Good luck.
Yeah. So Steve was talking about the offensive lineman, but so I'm hearing that the Packers are preparing something in the neighborhood of $50 million a year. Is that
45? Yeah,
45.
Yeah, 45.
So the narrative is that, well, I mean, is the money important, or is trying to win a Super Bowl somewhere else important? Mm-hmm. And the guy's worth reportedly $120 million. But when you're talking about, is the money important this year? I mean, what would the Broncos be paying him? 40, 45? Like, he's still going to be making a boatload of money wherever he goes, should he leave the Packers. So I don't think it's so much a money decision. I think it's a how do you want to finish the rest of your career, and where do you think?
Well, and I think it's almost like, and obviously we don't know what he's actually thinking, but like you look at it, it's like, okay, the Packers are offering me 45, and then they might lose Devontae, might lose Tanyan. We have these free agents that we might lose in order to sign Rodgers. But then you've got the Broncos or whatever other team that's offering me 40, but they have this in place. So it's almost like I think he would take less money to go somewhere else that gives him more of a shot at a Super Bowl than sign for the big money at Green Bay.
Isn't that crazy that we're talking about less money and it's $40 million a year?
Yeah.
But I loved at the MVP honors when he's walking off stage and Peyton is walking with him, and I just wanted Peyton to like grab him by the elbow and go, let's take the long way,
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of like what Bree said. If Aaron Rodgers comes to the Broncos, do I expect them to get a Super Bowl in his first year? No. Do I think they could win one or go to two within his 3 years? Yeah.
Well, Mike, why couldn't they win the first year?
Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that they couldn't. I'm just saying I wouldn't be expecting it. Because you've got first-time head coaches, you've got first-time offensive coordinators, first-time defensive coordinators. You just don't know.
But where are
roster-wise, I think we're good.
Yeah.
No, I already predicted that I think the Broncos are going to win the Super Bowl this next year if they get Aaron Rodgers. I just think that there are so many upsides to it. There are so many weapons on offense. The defense is already pretty strong. Hopefully, Evero can. I mean, like even though we were close to beating the Chiefs multiple times over the last years. Mm-hmm. Like, does Aaron Rodgers not put us over the hump? I mean, I guess it depends on what the defense is doing, but at the same time, like one ever who comes from that system.
Yeah.
And it's not like he can't look at, watch tape of those games and bounce, use the other players that have been there, Justin Simmons, as kind of like an echo board essentially, and just like figure out how to give Mahomes a hard time. I mean, I think it's a very winnable division at that point. And I don't know. I just think there's so many different weapons on this team, and the roster is just so stacked and still under rookie contract. Like, I mean, I don't know but honestly, if we don't get Aaron Rodgers, we're in a rough spot. We're in a real rough spot.
What about Russ?
Huh?
Well, that's what I was gonna say.
I don't
Like,
think
all
that's
the
happening
talk
anymore.
so far has been about Aaron Rodgers leaving, but personally, I think it's more likely that Rodgers retires or stays, and Russ is able to force his way out.
I don't think Russ is going anywhere. I think at this point, I feel like the Seahawks are like, you're not going anywhere. And they already switched out offensive line coaches just to try to make some change, and they're probably going to load up on the offensive line to give them everything. They're going to be terrible. They're still going to be terrible outside of Russ, but
yeah,
I think that they can't let go.
Okay. Well, and I know that probably every team's got the same thing, but I already know that there is plans on the table for a contract or a trade package for Rodgers and for Russ already on the table. I'm sure every other team has that too, but I know that Denver's front office has a trade package ready to go for either one.
I'm sure they do. I mean, that's, you got to be ready for that if they come available, you need to jump on that as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
I'm sure they have it for other quarterbacks as well.
Do you guys think that there's a possibility that this whole thing with the Packers is a charade, and this arrangement was already made a year ago, him being traded to here for such and such type of package that was maybe, subject to be massaged a little bit, but it just feels like it. All the national, reporters are all suggesting that this is happening. I mean, could they all be? Could everybody be wrong and we'll get surprised? I mean, it's possible, but it just feels like there was already some sort of an arrangement.
I don't know if you're an organization that has Aaron Rodgers and you're trying to figure out, and he doesn't want to come back, and you're trying to figure out how he gets out the door without you taking a ton of heat from the fan base, who is your ownership, without throwing him under the bus, essentially. Mm-hmm. I feel like this is a decent way to go, where you're kind of making it very convoluted and what's happening, and then you give an offer that he's not gonna take, or does he take it? I don't know. I also think Aaron Rodgers is kind of damned if he does, damned if he doesn't, because on both sides of the fence, like the Packers fans are not going to be happy, if he leaves, and we offered you $45 million to stay and you still wouldn't stay, whatever, and Broncos fans are going to be like, oh, what, he was saying that he wanted to come and he didn't, there's always going to be something. But I think.
Do you think any of that heat falls on Gutekunst?
Everything
for how bad he's screwed up by not grabbing another receiver or grabbing another tight end or something.
I feel bad for the Green Bay Packers. Have had a terrible run at GMs, and this is no exception. So yeah, I just think he's a big factor. I'm pretty sure he was the biggest factor when Aaron started this whole thing, and then they kind of mended it a bit. Because I think Gutekunst's main focus was trying to almost put Aaron in his place, so to speak, and which is like, listen, I know you're the GM, but this is not your team. Like, this is Aaron Rodgers' team.
Yeah, what was the last GM you saw in the Ring of Fame, right?
Yeah. So
no, it's been brought up before, and I think that there's still a good chance. Like, Rodgers doesn't come to Denver, Wilson doesn't come to Denver. They say no on a Jimmy G. Lock starting next year. Good, bad, questioning.
I honestly think
do you
that's like, if you were to gun to my head, if you were to ask me who I think is going to start the season next year, I think it's Drew Lock. Like, straight up, I think Drew Lock is going to start the season next year, which is,
improvement or no?
I don't know what improvement he's going to have to learn another offense. He's going to have to learn another offense. So that's what he's not great at.
The worst thing that happened for Drew Lock was he had a good last 5 games in that one season
3 years ago.
Yeah, because everyone's glommed onto that, and we just have to pretend that the magic is still there.
And this is what's going to happen. Like, he's going to start, and then people are going to be like, well, now hold on. He had to learn a new offense on a new offensive coordinator, so we need to give him one more year.
He's technically a rookie
to prove to see if he's any good. It's like, let's just stop.
I saw someone say that we need to, if we get Aaron Rodgers, we need to re-sign Drew Lock to another 3 years on a smaller contract. And I was like, that's like straight up hostage situation at that point. Like, you're just like, no. Yeah. You're going to stay around and stay as our backup. But I want to go see if I can start someone else. No. Sit here and watch. And then we'll maybe let you be starter in 3 more years.
Oh, Pat Shermer just got hired with the Houston Texans. We're sending you there.
Wow. So if you had to put money on it right now, do you think that Denver has a first-round pick going into the draft?
No. We will not select in the first round. That's my vote.
So you're thinking of Rodgers or Wilson, but probably a Rodgers?
I think so. What's your vibe, Mike? I'm preparing myself to be very, very disappointed, but what's your vibe?
Yeah.
Dude, I still think it's going to be Wilson.
Yeah.
No.
If it's me.
I would love that too.
I don't think that's going to happen at all. But I think Aaron Rodgers is the most likely of the free agents. Yeah, I'm going to go with this. I'm going to go with the disappointment. I'm going to say I think we're going to have a first round pick this year.
Okay, so if we have a first round, who?
Oh.
And if you say quarterback, I swear. I swear.
Do you know me at
people
all?
Are like, Malik Willis, number 9. It's like, stop it.
Do you know?
Stop it right now.
No. Of course
That's not going to age well, Mike, because I think he's going to have a great career. But anyway,
I'm not saying he will, but at this point, like, can you really take a first-round flyer and a top 10 at that?
No,
on a quarterback in this draft?
No,
I am honestly.
I mean, I think Pickett and Willis might go top 10, at least Pickett, but that doesn't mean that they should.
I like how we asked Boggins' opinion. We've interrupted him the last 60 seconds.
Yeah, Boggins, go ahead.
It's fine. No, it's fine. Yeah, definitely not. Yeah, definitely not a quarterback. I would definitely take edge. I would probably take like a David Ajabo, or a tackle. But I don't know if I like any of the tackles that high up that are going to be good in outside zone.
Who's that? Is it Lindenbaum? Is that the center from Iowa?
No,
Linderbaum?
Tyler, yeah.
What about him at 9?
As a center? No.
Yeah.
No. I don't think so. I think if you traded back, maybe. I don't really want to. I just really don't want a center. I get it. It makes sense, and he's really good. And he's like a very one of the most blue chip players in this draft. But I just don't want it. I think edge is much more needed, and so I would go for like a David Ajabo. I want it. I'm gonna have it. Or Trayvon Walker. It's probably
Trayvon Walker. All right. Anybody else got any topics they want to talk about?
I'll take any defensive player from Georgia.
That'll work. Anybody have any other topics they want to talk about before we go?
I think
anything pressing?
No.
Anybody in the chat? You got anything else you want to know? You got 3 seconds and go.
It's just Johnny in there, so I don't think
it is not. All right, time's up. All right. So make sure you like, subscribe, comment, share, and turn on notifications so you can catch all of our content when it's posted. Make sure you're tuning into our other podcast, Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue podcast that airs every Thursday 7654 on the same channels as us, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. Catch an all-new episode of Broncos Breakdown with Bronco Bill every Wednesday, 7654, and our new video series, Rough Draft, that will air every Friday starting this week. Rough Draft. We're going to go ahead and do Boggins' favorite thing before we head out, which is the Mile High Five. I'm curious to see what you've got prepared this time.
The Mile High Five is no off season.
I don't have anything prepared.
Nothing prepared at all. So we're going to go ahead and stick them out to the side. And we're going to say,
hit the red button. Gotta cut, dude.
Oh, that's terrible. All right. Well, we will catch you.
We will catch you.
We will catch you tomorrow. We'll catch you tomorrow with Broncos Breakdown, and on Thursday with the Nothing Rhymes with Orange Blue podcast. And then make sure you're tuning in on Friday for the very first episode of Rough Draft. Bye, everybody. We shall see you later.